Okay, so with this, we'll start today's lecture. Okay, so let me just erase some things out there on the PPT. Okay. Right. So today we're going to solve some numericals. So in last lecture, we stopped at this point, sensible heat factor. Sensible heat factor is the ratio of sensible heat to the total heat, SH divided by TH. Again, here in this case, total heat is again summation of sensible heat and latent heat. This is a figure what we are studying yesterday. So let us say we go from point one. Point one is somewhat higher temperature and a higher or lower humidity. Again, point two is somewhere there which have lower temperature and higher humidity. So we go from point one to point two. Okay. Now in this case, what happens? This vertical part here it is contributing to latent heat. Horizontal part will contribute to sensible heat. So if you want to know the sensible heat factor, you have to first calculate sensible heat. How to calculate sensible heat? We have to know the enthalpies. So we have to know the enthalpy at point 2, that is H2. We have to know the enthalpy at point A, that is HA. So HA minus H2, that will be sensible heat. And if you want to know the total heat, that will be H1 minus H2. So here is the formula. SHF is equal to SH divided by TH, which is equal to HA minus H2 divided by H1 minus H2. Okay, so this way we calculate the sensible heat factor. Now next thing here it is numerical we'll solve. It is a lengthy numerical. Okay, so we'll go step by step. Right. So I'll read the numerical. Pay attention. Though atmospheric air at 30 degrees Celsius dry bulb temperature and 75% relative humidity enters a cooling coil at the rate of 200 meter per minute. The coil due temperature is 14 degrees Celsius and the bypass factor of the coil is 0.1. Determine the temperature of air leaving the coil, the capacity of cooling coil in terms of refrigeration and kilowatt, the amount of water vapor removed per minute, and the sensible heat factor of the process. So a lot of things we have to calculate. Let us first write down the given data. Okay. So here the TD1, that is the entering air dry bulb temperature, here it is 30 degrees Celsius. The RH1, here it is 75%. So we have to locate this point 1 where dry bulb temperature is 30 degrees Celsius and Relative humidity, here it is 75%. It is entering at the cooling coil at the rate of 200 meter per minute. So that may be the velocity here, which will be equal to 200 meters per minute. We can convert this into meter per second, no doubt. Here coil dew temperature is 14 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we call it as a TDP, dew point temperature. Here it is 14 degrees Celsius. Bypass factor, here it is 0.15. So bypass factor is equal to 0.1. Okay. So here we have to find the temperature of air leaving the cooling coil. So that is TD2. The capacity of cooling coil in terms of refrigeration and kilowatts. So we have to calculate the Q also in terms of tons and in terms of kilowatt. Okay. Then we have to calculate amount of water vapor removed per minute. So we have to calculate the mass of water vapor which is being removed per minute. How it is being removed? When the air passes onto the cooling coil, in that case, the condensation of water vapors occurs, and that condensation is nothing but removal of water content from the dry air. From air, okay. And the sensible heat factor during the process. So S, H, and F. Okay, so for your understanding, I will draw the schematic here. Let us say this is a cooling coil. Okay. Now the coil's dew point temperature here it is 14 degrees Celsius. Okay. The air is entering at how much temperature? 30 degrees Celsius, dBT, and 75% RH. It comes in contact with the coil. What will happen here? The temperature will reduce. When it reduces to dew point temperature, dews will form. That means there will be condensation of water particles. So that means there will be some condensation on the coil. So like this way, water particles will be formed. Some will try to fall also. And there will be some tray will be there at the bottom. And at the tray, we are collecting the coil. These water particles are falling into the tray. Okay. Here, the bypass factor of this cooling coil, BPF, is given as 0.1, and the air is entering at 200 meter per minute. Right. So here again, some properties we have to calculate. That is the air temperature at the outlet, that is TD2. Capacity of cooling coil, that is how much amount of heat it can extract. The amount of water vapor removed. So this we have to calculate how much amount of water is removed per minute, and the sensible heat factor for the process, right? So whole this process of cooling and dehumidification, right? So there is a cooling also. We are removing the moisture also. That is a cooling and dehumidification. So, so that in that process we have to calculate the sensible heat factor. Okay. Okay. Now see here, which first calculate the temperature of cooling coil. So bypass factor for cooling coil, we know the formula is TD2 minus TD3 divided by TD1 minus TD3. So here in this case, TD2, it is unknown, TD3 is also unknown, but TD2, for TD2, like TD2 is unknown, TD3 is given, that is 14 degrees Celsius, TD1 is given, that is 30 degrees Celsius, right? So I can put these values. So 0.1 will be equal to 14 minus TD3, not the 14, sorry. TD2 is unknown. TD2 minus 14 divided by TD1 is 30 degrees Celsius minus 14. Okay. So calculate the TD2 value, which will be in degree Celsius. Calculate the value of TD2. Okay, so those who still did not understood the bypass factor concept, the thing is here, when air is entering, in that case, we are assuming like some X amount of air is passing on the coil and remaining 1 minus X amount of air is bypassing the cooling coil. So that bypass factor will tell you how much amount of air is bypassing. Right? So calculate this. Yes, Saurabh. Yeah, sir. 15.6. Good. 15.6. Right? So when that bypass factor passes, so when air is bypassed, it is assumed that there is no increase or decrease in temperature. This temperature remains as it is, TD1. When this X amount of air falls on the cooling coil, it is assumed that its temperature reduces to TD3. And finally, when these two streams again come together, here temperature is TD3, here temperature is TD1. We have to take a average of it, and that average is nothing but TD2. Okay, so this is the concept behind the bypass factor. Okay, now let us show this process on the psychrometric diagram. So here again, I have abscissa. Here I have ordinate. Here I have saturation curve. Okay. So initially the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius and 75% relative humidity. Okay. So 30, let us say this is 100%. So I'm just assuming there will be some curve which will correspond to 75%, right? So let us say 0.1 is somewhere here. So this is just I'm assuming 0.1. How 0.1 I have got here? So actually I have to locate in the psychrometric chart where we'll go eventually. Here the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. So the abscissa, there is always dry bulb temperature. On ordinate, here we have specific humidity. Here this curve is correspond to 100% RH. So whenever I will locate 30 degrees Celsius, dBT, how to go vertical direction. I have to search for wherever there is a 75% RH. So ultimately I will get a 0.1. Now the cooling and dehumidification in this case takes place. So definitely it will reach to somewhere this point, somewhere here. Or okay, somewhere here I have to first locate temperature of 14 degrees Celsius. So that is a dew point temperature. Okay, that is a dew point temperature. So this line first I have to draw it. This is nothing but the, let us say 0.3. Okay, 0.3 corresponds to temperature of cooling coil. So temperature of cooling coil here it is given, dew point temperature is given 14 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now how to locate 0.3? Again I have to search for 14 degrees Celsius dBT. I have to go in vertical direction. So ultimately I will get a point, dew point at 14 degrees Celsius. Right. So here it is. I have to join these two points. I will get a line, and with the help of bypass factor, I can locate 0.2. How to locate 0.2? So already we have calculated TD2 as 15.6. Okay. Again, here you have to locate 15.6 and you will get point number 2. Okay. So it is as simple it is. And the main thing here, very interesting thing is here, when you take the segment ratio, so let us say this is a complete segment, this is X1 and this is X2. Okay. Here in this case, when you take the ratio X2 divided by X1, so here in this case it will be 0.1. Okay. Here it will be 0.1. So X2 is 0.1% of total segment. Okay. Sorry, X1 plus X2. So this will be 0.1. That is a bypass factor. So this is the meaning of bypass factor here. We have to divide this line such that this fraction or this small segment X2 will become 0.1% of total line. Okay, that means if I divide this line into 10 equal parts, let us say In that case, one part will correspond to x2, other 9 parts will correspond to this thing, right? So what does bypass factor 0.1 means geometrically? So this is a line, let us say. I divide this into 10 equal parts. Okay, so these are the 10 equal parts are there. Whenever I say bypass factor is 0.1, so that means this much amount is 1 and remaining is 9. Okay, that way I have to divide the whole line. Whenever I say bypass factor is 0.3, so that means I have to divide line such that there will be 3 parts here and remaining 7 parts will be like this. So you can go reverse way also, even though if you don't know the value of TD2 15.6, in that case you can easily calculate it with the help of bypass factor. If the bypass factor is 0.1, you have to divide this line into 10 parts. So one part from here, so that will give you temperature of air leaving the coil. So I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say here. The physical meaning or the geometrical meaning of bypass factor. Okay. Now here what they have told us to calculate the cooling capacity of coil. So how to calculate it? Right. So the cooling. So let me check what we have to do here. TD2 we have calculated. So that is the first thing here. Second thing we have to calculate the Q value, cooling capacity of coil. Okay, so Q will be equal to mass flow rate of incoming air into H1 minus H2, right? So that will be the cooling capacity of the coil. So here I have to again calculate the H1 and H2. So there will be an enthalpy scale will be there. I have to locate the value H2. I have to locate the value H1. When I will minus H1 minus H2, I will get cooling capacity of the coil. If I multiply by mass flow rate, I will get in the terms of kilowatt or tons of refrigeration. Next thing here it is calculation of sensible heat factor. So I have to draw a triangle. So if you remember from last lecture, so this will be a triangle. Here in this case, this will be the latent heat removed, and this will be sensible heat removed, right? And sensible heat divided by total heat, that will be our sensible heat factor. Okay. So now I will switch to psychrometric chart. There we can get the values. Okay, so this is a psychrometric chart. So initial condition of air was 30 degrees Celsius. So this is 30 degrees Celsius DBT. Right, I don't know. Right. So how to locate 0.1, 30 degrees Celsius DBT and 75% RH. So here it will be DBT 30 degrees Celsius. I have to locate for the 75% RH curve. So here you can see here it is 70, here it is 80. So between 70 and 80, here it will lie the 75. Okay. So somewhere by my judgment, I will note down this value. So somewhere here, right? This will be my 0.1. So how I have taken this? So this is 30 degree DBT, and between 70 and 70 and 80, there will be 75. So like that way, I have taken a 0.1 by my judgment. Now I have to locate dew point temperature 14 degrees Celsius. Dew point temperature always lies coincident with the wet bulb temperature. So here I can see there is 10, there is 15, and there are some constant WBT lines, right? So I have to locate for 14 degrees Celsius dew point temperature. So this is 10, this is 11, this is 12, this is 13, and this is 14. So here is my point 3. This is my point 3. That is the dew point temperature of cooling coil. Now I have to join these two lines, right? I have to join these two lines. Let me check. Yes, so there is a line option is there. Right. So this is my line. So somewhere here the point 2 will lie, right? Now how to know point 2? So we have calculated PD2, here it is 15.6, right? So see here this is 10, then this is 15. Between 15 and 16 there will be 15.6. So here let us say here it is 15.6. Again I have to go in vertical direction like this, and somewhere here my point 2 will lie, right? It is very nearer to the saturation curve, but it is not on the saturation curve. Okay. Another method here it is, the bypass factor is given. So you can divide this line into 10 equal parts, right? And then you can take first part, that will be our TD2. So there are two methods. Either you can calculate TD2, plot in psychrometric chart, or you can divide this line 1, 3 into 10 equal parts. Take the first part, that will be, because we are taking first part because the bypass factor is 0.1. One part of 10, that is 0.1. That is why I will first take 10 parts. So first part, only one part will correspond to TD2, right? So here somewhere our point 2 will lie. Now I have to know the enthalpy values. So see here, this is 0.1. So I have to follow the constant enthalpy values. So here, here. So I will get this value. So this values correspond to 82 kilojoule per kg. Now I have to go for the 0.2 here again. So this will correspond to this line, constant enthalpy line. I will get here. So this corresponds to 40, 42, 44. So this corresponds to 44 kilojoule per kg. Right? So I have known the enthalpy values. Now I can easily calculate the cooling capacity of the coil. Again, to calculation of mass flow rate, I need to know the specific volume at 0.1. So see, this is a 0.1 here, right? And these are the specific volume lines, these vertical incline lines, sorry, not incline lines. So see here, the value here it is 0.9, it is there. Then this corresponds to 0.88 meter cube per kg. So our 0.1 lies in between 0.88 and 0.89. So let us say this point corresponding to this point, the value, it will be greater than 0.885. So let us say I will take this value as 0.887. That will be specific volume at 0.1. Now with this, I will go back to my presentation. So here what I have calculated actually from psychrometric chart. So here I have calculated H1 as 82 kilojoule per kg. I have calculated H2 as 44 kilojoule per kg, right? Again, I have calculated, so I'll erase these values here. Again, here I have calculated the specific volume that is given here in this case as 0.887. We have taken from the psychrometric chart, right? Now let us calculate the mass flow rate plus mass flow rate will be equal to volume flow rate divided by specific volume, right? So here in this case, the volume flow rate is given 200 meter cube per minute, right? So here in this case, actually this is 200 meter cube per minute, the mass volume flow rate. Specific volume I have calculated is as a 0.887, right? So here let us see the units are, this is volume flow rate, that is meter cube per minute, and in denominator we have meter cube per kg. So ultimately I will get a value in terms of kilogram per minute. So calculate this kilogram per minute mass flow rate. Yes, others also calculate. I hope others are also using calci. They know how to use calci. Okay. So there is a gate examination which is coming in this coming February 13th. There will be a paper of gate mechanical engineering. So in that case, you have to use online calculator. Okay. So those who are seriously preparing it, they should focus more on mock test. The mock test will give you idea how much you can score in real examination. Okay. So I'll take the answer from the chat box, that is 225.47. So here it will be 225.47, right? So let us calculate the Q value. So this is 225.47, and into H1 here we have calculated 82, H2 we have calculated 44. Now if you want to calculate, okay, first calculate this one. Here the unit will be kilojoule per minute, right? Then convert this kilojoule per minute into kilowatt, right? And then ultimately you can go for tons and refrigeration, right? First calculate the value in kilojoule per minute. Then you can calculate the value in kilowatt. So if you are calculating directly into kilowatt, you can put that into chat box with units. So Saurabh, have you calculated in kilojoule per minute or kilowatt? 8567. 857.86. Okay. Convert it into kilowatt. How to convert into kilowatt? Just simply divide it by 60, because in 1 minute we have 60 seconds. Divide this value by 60, you will get the value in kilowatt. So calculate in kilowatt. Okay, so 142.8. 142.8 kilowatt. Okay. Now convert this into tons of refrigeration. How to convert this into tons of refrigeration? Just simply divide this value by 3.5. So again, Q will be equal to 142.8 divided by 3.5. This will be in tons of refrigeration. Calculate this. This will be in tons of refrigeration, right? 40.8. Okay, 40.8, right? So you can see the cooling capacity of the coil is 40 tons, 40.8 tons of refrigeration, right? So I will again recap whatever happened in this case. So see here we have a cooling coil, right? So this is a cooling coil. We are passing an air onto it. there will be removal of moisture as well as reduction in temperature. So this is a case of cooling and dehumidification. Here for they have given the bypass factor. From bypass factor, you can easily calculate the air outlet temperature, right? And we can locate that point on the psychrometric chart. So this is just a representation. Okay. Now from psychrometric chart, I have derived two values H1 and H2 as well as specific volume at 0.1. Now from that, I have calculated the cooling capacity of the coil. Okay. Now the next question here it is lies, how much amount of water I can remove per minute, right? How much amount of water I can remove per minute. So let us calculate that. First write down, if you are not write down up to this point. Okay, write down up to this point. So cooling capacity it is 40.8 tons of refrigeration. Okay. So next question is how much amount of water vapor is water content is removed. So removal rate of moisture from air. Okay. So this will be, let us say MW, removal of moisture from air. So this will be equal to mass flow rate of air. So remember this formula. This formula is very important. Mass flow rate of incoming air into change in specific humidity. So specific humidity is what counts the water content. So initial specific humidity minus final specific humidity. Okay. So the removal rate, when the air will fall onto the cooling coil, it will be condensated on the cooling coil, moisture will be condensated, and there will be removal of water. So how much amount of water is continuously removed, that we have to calculate. Let us calculate the specific humidity values. Okay. I think again I have to plot these 2 points. So this is 30 and somewhere here it is 35. So this was a 0.1. In this case, again, this was a point 3 point, and then I had to draw a line, right? So this was the line. Somewhere here I have plotted 0.2, right? At 15.6 degree. So this was my 0.2, right? Now I have to know the specific humidity values. So I have to go into the horizontal direction up to ordinate. So here you will get the value. So here is the value, here it is 20. So 20 grams of water vapor per kg of dry air. Now for 0.2, again I have to go in horizontal direction so that I will know specific humidity. So here the value is coming somewhere in between. So let us say this is between 10 and 12. This is 11. So I have 20 versus 11. So I will put that into the psychrometric or into the formula. Okay. Now let us close this. So here mass flow rate we have already calculated as 225.47 into, here it was, how much it was? Actually I forgot, 11 and 20, right? So 20 minus 11. So this will give you, so here this unit is kilogram per minute. Here unit, there is no unit for specific humidity because the kg and kg will cancel. Yes, it is in grams, so you have to divide it by 1000. Okay. So the unit here it is kilogram per minute. Here unit is grams of water plus kg of dry air. So here in this case, you have to convert this in grams into kg. So unit will be ultimately kilogram per minute. Okay, so be aware of units, right? So in this competitive exams, sometimes they will give the answer, but there will be some, again, two answers will be such that there will be change in units, right? So that way also they will try to confuse you. There will be same answer, like value will be same, but units will be different. Calculate the water removal rate. So this is the removal rate of water from the air. Right. So again, two people are calculating, others calculate. Don't make me take your name. Prerna Ekatpure, Samruddhi Deshpande, Nilesh Kadam, Om Medkari, Santosh Patil, Omkar Pawar, Aftab Sheikh, Mohit Taur, Rohit Vidate, Akash Mane, Omkar Kare. So do participate to the answers. Okay. Those got selected in campus placements. Remember, the world will see you as mechanical engineer. Okay, so it is bound to know the basic knowledge of mechanical engineering. Right? Don't fall under the impression that I am got selected now. No need to study academics, right? So, as a mechanical engineer, certain things are expected that you should know. Okay, and that you must know. So, to participate, because this subject, if you try to study on your own, it will be very time consuming. The concepts are hard to understand. So give attention here in the class only. Anyway, you can prepare for campus placement. That is your utmost priority. I can understand, but you cannot completely ignore the academics and focus on campus, right? Okay, so the water removal rate here it will be 2. What answer you're given? 2.02. Okay, 2.02. You can see like almost 2 liters of water is being removed per minute. So this much like big is that cooling coil. 2 liters of water is continuously removed from the air. So in deserts like Sahara, so there are some projects of getting the free water. How do they get the free water? They install such kind of coils. They extract the water content from air, and that way they get the water, right? So that water is again very pure to drink, right? So you can search on YouTube or Google also. So the coils are being used to get the free water from the atmospheric air. In the climates like desert climates, okay, in the deserts, etc., where there is a very scarcity of water is there. Certain projects are there where they try to extract the water from the atmospheric air. So in this case, they make use of such coils and they extract the water, right? So here you can see the water removal rate is almost 2 liters per minute. Now last point here it is calculation of sensible heat factor. How to calculate sensible heat factor? So sensible heat divided by total heat, right? Now let us calculate sensible heat from the chart itself. Okay. So I will draw that triangle. So this is the triangle here. And this is the point A, which I have got now. Now I have to know the sensible heat as well as latent heat, right? So sensible heat, this will be sensible heat, right? And this will be latent heat. Always the vertical part is latent, horizontal part is sensible heat, right? Now I know the value of enthalpy at point 2, that is 44. I have to know the value of enthalpy at point A. So simply I will draw parallel inclined line. like this. So it will reach, let us say here. So this point corresponds to 59 kilojoule per kg, just before 60, right? So I can now calculate sensible heat as 59 minus 44, and total heat already I know that is H1 minus H2. So this is very simple now again. Right. So here sensible heat, that is HA minus H2 divided by H1 minus H2. HA we have calculated as 59 minus 44 divided by H1. We had calculated how much we have calculated H1? 82. Okay, 82 minus 44. So calculate this. So this will be sensible heat factor. This will be sensible heat factor. Yes, 0.39, or I will take 0.4. Okay, I will take 0.39, which will be like approximately 0.4. So this will be the sensible heat factor. It means that out of 4 parts corresponds to sensible heat, and remaining 6 parts correspond to latent heat. So that way it is the meaning. If I take the total heat scale on that, this means that 4 parts corresponds to sensible heat and 6 parts correspond to latent heat, right? So I hope you have understood the problem. This was a problem related to cooling and dehumidification. So write down. Okay. Now let us go to the next concept, that is adiabatic mixing. Okay. Let us go to the next concept, which is adiabatic mixing. So let me erase this point here. So unless and until you practice on yourself in the psychrometric chart. So already I have given you a PDF of psychrometric chart. In that case, you have to download it and then you can study it, right? So unless you practice on yourself, you will not get a confidence of using psychrometric chart, right? Psychrometric chart is the basic for air conditioning system design. You have to know what is happening in that process, whether temperature is increasing or decreasing, whether humidity is increasing or decreasing, whether specific volume is increasing or decreasing. So all these calculations will be related to only psychrometric chart, right? So even though there are some softwares are there, and softwares also you can do it, but still uh, like this hard copies are best suited at your level. When you will get advanced level, in that case you can use software. So there is a software called Carrier by Carrier company, Carrier HAP, Carrier HAP, hourly analysis program, that is mostly used in industries to calculation of this air conditioning system. Okay. So we'll go to the next point and let us see what is adiabatic mixing. All right. Okay. So before that, let me ask you a question. Let us see if you understood what is happening here. So I'm creating one poll again. Yes. So the question is there. Go to the poll. The question is there. Very basic question is there. It is from applied thermodynamics or basics of thermodynamics. In adiabatic process, dash dash change is zero. Which property does not change? Yes. So during an adiabatic process, dash dash change is zero. Yes. So four people. Yes, five people. So others also participate in adiabatic process. So there are some basic processes which we already studied, like isentropic, adiabatic, isothermal, isochoric, isobaric, isothermal, etc., right? So in adiabatic process, dash dash change is zero. Which property does not change? Okay, 9 people have voted. Others also vote. So I am taking this pose continuously just to show you the mirror, that how much you are understanding, how much you know, right? So this is very basic question. Adiabatic process is very basic question. It is not even very specific related to refrigeration, air conditioning. This is very basic question which is which you have studied in second year of engineering. Okay. So adiabatic processes are the processes where the net heat transfer is zero. Heat transfer cannot take place. You can take example of an insulated thermos bottle. In that case, the water temperature for, like, let us say, limited period of time remains constant because there is no heat transfer. Okay, where there is insulation is there, the heat transfer cannot take place. We call it as a adiabatic. And wherever there is a reversible adiabatic process, that is termed as isentropic process. Isentropic process is reversible adiabatic, where entropy change does not take place. Isothermal means temperature remains constant. Isochoric means volume remains constant. Isobaric means pressure remains constant. Okay. So two people have voted for temperature. So see, these two people have voted for the temperature. They should go back and check your basics, because at this stage, at the final of year of engineering, if you are replying wrongly to such a very basic question, then you need to check your basics. Okay. So adiabatic process, the heat change is 0. Okay. Right. So we'll go back again. So today we'll finish the derivation for adiabatic mixing. Then we can go for the numericals. Okay. Okay, so adiabatic mixing. So first we'll understand what is the objective or what is the motive behind the adiabatic mixing. Okay, so let us first take example of a closed room. Okay, in this closed room, one AC is installed. So this is a split AC is there. Okay, split AC you know already. This is the internal part which is consisting of evaporator. Then there is the external unit is there which is consisting of compressor and condenser. Initial internal there is evaporator and throttling valve is there. So there is some connection is there. Two pipes are there. Now in split AC, what happens? The basic process of the split AC is cooling and dehumidification. We are cooling the air inside air as well as we are removing the moisture. But in this case, what happens? There is no fresh air is added. Whatever air inside the room that is taken inside, it comes in contact with the cooling coil. Then its moisture is removed, its temperature is reduced. Then we'll get a supply air. And there is a recirculation of air. That air is again recirculated and there is no fresh air is added. Okay. Now against to this, let us say some industrial application. So there is one application which is called as AHU, which is called as air handling unit. So air handling unit, we have an inlet to fresh air. We have an inlet to the return air. Now from where this air is returning, that I will show you. So in AHU, these two streams are mixed together. Then there are filtered. So there is a filter is there. They are filter. Then there is a coil section is there where they are cooled. If required, there will be again another section for the heating coil also. They are again heated if required. Then we have a outlet. So there will be a blower fan and there will be this outlet. This outlet is termed as supply air. This outlet is termed as supply air. Okay. So yes, so there will be again one room will be there. So this I am telling you in the industrial point of view. There will be a room, there will be a false ceiling will be there. Okay. In false ceiling, there will be somewhere there will be a supply diffuser and then there will be a return diffuser. Okay. So this there is this duct is there and this duct will supply air to the supply diffuser. Okay. Now there is this return diffuser and there is another duct is connected which is called as return duct. This return duct will take the return air from the room. It is supplied back to AHU. So we have fresh air, we have return air, we have supply air. Supply air is supplied with the help of supply diffusers. Here we have return air from which is collected. It passes to the through the return air duct. Then it is supplied to AHU. So in this case, you can see there are two streams which are coming together, fresh air and return air, and we are getting one outlet that is a supply air. Okay. Now there are other units also. There is another unit which is called as FCU. FCU is same as this split AC. Only the case is in FCU we are using chilled water for cooling purpose, right? Coil, fan coil unit. Then we have FAHU, fresh air handling unit. In fresh air handling unit, there is no return air. So whatever fresh air is coming, it is being cooled and it is being supplied. So that is a fresh air handling unit, and one is a fan coil unit. So these are some industrial applications are there in the air conditioning system. So the main point here adiabatic mixing is that there are two streams which are coming together. They are mixed and we get a outlet. Adiabatic term stands for there is because this mixing takes place at a adiabatic condition. So there will be no heat loss through the surrounding. So how does that take place? We'll see now. So if you want to draw, you can draw this diagram. This is what is there in the industry, right? Right. So in short, I will draw another diagram for the adiabatic mixing, which is in the textbooks. Okay. So there is this stream, one is coming. This is another stream which is coming. These are at, let us say, mass 2, H2, and specific humidity 2. This is at mass 1, enthalpy 1, and specific humidity 1. These are mixed together, and outlet will get mass 3, H3, and W3. Okay. Now it is called as adiabatic mixing because these walls are insulated. So theoretically, these are insulated. That is why it is called as adiabatic mixing. Okay. Okay, so this is the case for adiabatic mixing. So draw this diagram and we'll take one derivation. Very small derivation is there. Even though the exam is in online mode, but you should at least know where this formula came from. Okay. So adiabatic mixing, draw this diagram. Okay. Now I will take help of some universal laws. So from law of conservation of mass. Okay. I can write M1 plus M2 will be equal to M3. So whole mass is being conserved, right? Now from law of conservation of mass, I will apply for the water vapors. So in this case, this will be M1 W1 plus M2 W2. So this term will give you amount of water vapors. This will give you amount of water vapors. So this will be equal to M3 into W3. So this is equation number 2. Now from law of conservation of energy. Now which law corresponds to law of conservation of energy? Is it first law? Is it second law? Which law of thermodynamics corresponds to law of conservation of energy? Yes, that is one MCQ. Which law of thermodynamics? So we have 4 laws: zeroth law, first law, second law, third law. Which law corresponds to conservation of energy? Yes. Put your answers in the chat box. Which law of thermodynamics? Is it zeroth law? Is it first law? Is it second law? Is it third law? Which corresponds to the law of conservation of energy? Yes, put your answers in the chat box. Yes. Okay. So I will tell it is the first law. The first law of thermodynamics, it is corresponding to the law of conservation of energy. That is, the total amount of energy in a process is conserved. Okay, so that is the law of conservation of energy. And second law of thermodynamics is related to the direction of the process, right? And entropy. Then third law is corresponds to absolute zero value of entropy. Then zeroth law is corresponding to the equilibrium, thermal equilibrium. Okay. So from law of conservation of energy, the total energy content will be conserved. That is M1 into H1 plus M2 into H2 will be equal to M3 and H3, equation number 3. Now what I will do, I will put this value of M3 into equation number 3. So putting value of M3 from 1 into 3. So what it will look like? It will look like M1 H1 plus M2 H2 will be equal to M1 plus M2 into H3. Okay. Or I can write this as also M1 H1 plus M2 H2 will be equal to M1 H3 plus M2 H3. Now I will take the M1 on LHS, M2 terms on RHS. So this will look like M1 H1 minus M1 H3 equal to M2 H3 minus M2 H2. Okay. Now I will take M1 common. So this will look like M1 into H1 minus H3 equal to M2 into H3 minus H2. Now I will take the ratios. So I will take this M2 into this denominator. It will look like M1 divided by M2 will be equal to H3 minus H2 divided by H1 minus H3. This is